Hi, friends. So, this is one of those awesome success stories that I always get asked to explain further. This is the story of the person who lost 67 pounds by learning to say no. So, here's what happened. She worked at an office where the custom, the norm in that office was that in the afternoon people would have a break for a snack or something. And whether the company provided, I don't know the details, but the point is that they would pass around these trays with pastries, these Cuban pastries, which are delicious, frankly, but very, very caloric. And what happened is when you eat a high calorie snack, what happens is your blood sugar increases quite a bit. So in the afternoons, after lunch, after a couple of hours after you ate, there's a natural tendency for us to become a little bit hypoglycemic. There's a natural tendency to feel a little bit sleepy. Remember that there are many things going on in the body and in the mind. And you have these natural blood sugar variations, even in a non-diabetic person. Of course, in a diabetic person, those variations can be very extreme. But even in a normal person, you have variations throughout the day. But that's not the only variation we're talking about. You have something called a circadian rhythm, you have an ultradian rhythm, you have all of these different cycles of energy going on in the body and in the mind throughout the day and night. See, sleep itself is cyclical, and we go through all of these different cycles and stages of sleep, and we need about 5 cycles every night to feel fully rested. So life is cyclical, and it is normal for us to feel a little bit low in energy at different times in the day. Well, what happens is, in our culture at least, we're used to sort of medicating those lows. I mean, the natural thing to do during the low would be to take a break and, if possible, take a nap. So when you feel a little sleepy and tired, the optimum thing to do is take a nap, you see, because that's what your body is asking for, some rest, some recovery. But what we tend to do is we medicate, quote unquote, those lows with either sugar or some form of caffeine, some form of stimulant. Some people go out for a cigarette break. Nicotine is a stimulant. Coffee is a stimulant, or sometimes sugar, which also functions as a stimulant, right? But in the case of sugar, of course, there is a natural rebound there. Once the sugar level goes up, insulin kicks in, and then it goes back low again, and then we tend to feel lethargic again sometime later because of that rebound effect. But here's the point of it. So if a person has a sugary snack in the middle of the afternoon, there's a tendency a couple of hours later to end up snacking some more because they feel lethargic again. And so imagine this: you work in an office, so it comes about 4 o'clock or so, 3:30, you begin to have some sugary snacks. About 5 o'clock, you go home. By the time you get home, you're starving. And cooking dinner at that point becomes almost impossible because the person is too hungry. So what they tend to do is they do a snack while they prepare dinner. And then, of course, after they went through the trouble of preparing dinner, they eat dinner. But now they're overfilled, and they're full, and they go to sleep, and whatever. So it's a cycle that tends to become worse with time, because once we gain weight, fat cells themselves function as an endocrine gland. Science discovered this not too long ago. In other words, there are 2 kinds of fat. We have subcutaneous fat, that's the fat that's under the skin, and there is visceral fat, also called brown fat. And brown fat, or visceral fat, is an endocrine gland. It amounts to an endocrine gland in the sense that it produces hormones. It produces an enzyme called aromatase, which can convert testosterone into estrogen-like hormones, and that's why obese women tend to have a whole lot of estrogen, and that's why certain problems are more prevalent. Estrogen-sensitive issues become more problematic in those kinds of women. So here's the point I'm making. In males, the excess estrogen also causes problems in terms of gynecomastia, the breast's development, but also low libido, low sex drive, and a number of other situations there. And also, guess what? It's one of those loops where the more weight we gain, the easier it is to gain weight, and the more difficult it is to lose weight. In other words, it becomes an unstable cycle. It doesn't correct itself. It's a little bit interesting the way nature is. And I suppose nature, from evolutionary point of view, wanted this to happen, right? Wanted us to have storage of calories. So at a time when food was not abundant, I suppose this would be an advantage, but nowadays it is not an advantage. So here's the point I'm making. When we begin to reverse obesity, the first few pounds might be a little bit difficult. And we begin by learning to say no to the big offenders, the high calorie stuff and all this. And then there's a whole method that we have developed that you can use to lose weight no matter how heavy you are without surgery. It can be done. Many people have done it. Of course, it can be done. And once you lose those couple of first pounds, you see, then it reinforces the fact in your mind that you're on the right track, and then further weight loss becomes a little bit easier. But not only that, physiologically, the less fat we have, the easier it is to get rid of fat for several reasons, one of which is the fact that as we begin to weigh less, exercise becomes more of a possibility and also more enjoyable. So we can accelerate the weight loss process. So it is very difficult to get started. And that's why when a person becomes obese, oftentimes they need professional help because it's just very difficult. There are too many things going on. Their whole lives revolve around the weight gain. So anyway, this lady started the process by going into hypnosis and learning to say no to the pastries. And as soon as she was able to have the habit installed, she was able to say no, get home, not have the snacks, have dinner earlier, and that sets in motion a process that in a few months resulted in 67 pounds weight loss, which, let me tell you something, not only did she look completely different, but also her whole life changed. And you can do the same thing. Now, let me know what you think about this. And if you have questions, by all means, give me a call or send me an email or make a comment below this video. And I'll be more than happy to set you moving in the right direction so that you can actually accomplish this the right way and only go through this process once. All right? Thank you and good luck.